India approves the world's first DNA-based vaccine for emergency use. Baby bats babble like human infants, and scientists grow mini brains in a lab. Let's see more about these interesting stories from the world of science. I'm Nidhi Kumar, and you're watching Science Time, a show that brings to you the best that science offers, from exciting developments in the world of science and technology to futuristic solutions. Let's move on to story number one. And the Drug Controller General of India's approval for emergency use of the world's first needle-free plasmid DNA COVID-19 vaccine, Zycobid, marks a significant breakthrough not only for the homegrown drug maker, but also for the country's ambitious vaccination drive. The vaccine has been developed Zydus Cadila in partnership with the DBT under Mission COVID Suraksha and implemented by BIRAC. Zycobid has been supported under COVID-19 Research Consortia through National Biopharma Mission for preclinical studies, Phase 1 and Phase 2 clinical trials, and under the Mission COVID Suraksha for Phase 3 clinical trials. This 3-dose vaccine, which when injected produces the spike protein of the SARS-CoV-2 virus and elicits an immune response, plays a vital role in protection from the infection as well as viral clearance. The plug-and-play technology on which the plasmid DNA platform is based can be easily adapted to deal with mutations in the virus, such as those already occurring. Though stored at 2 to 8 degrees Celsius, it has good stability at 25 degrees for at least 3 months, making it easier to transport and to store. To be given at intervals of 28 and 56 days, using the painless Pharma Jet needle-free applicator, it will bring adolescents within the ambit of vaccination and also those avoiding getting inoculated because of their fear of needles. And interim results from Phase 3 clinical trials in more than 28,000 volunteers showed primary efficacy of 66.6% for symptomatic RT-PCR positive cases. This has been the largest vaccine trial so far in India for coronavirus. This jab had already exhibited robust immunogenicity and tolerability and safety profile in the adaptive Phase 1 and 2 clinical trials carried out earlier. Both the Phase 1 and 2 and Phase 3 clinical trials have been monitored by an independent data safety monitoring board. Vaccine Technology Center, Vaccine Research Center of the Zydus Group, Transnational Health Science and Technology Institute, an autonomous institute of the Department of Biotechnology and Interactive Research School for Health Affairs, Pune, GCLP lab, set up under the Department of Biotechnology, National Biopharma Mission also played a vital role in this success story. The Department of Biotechnology has partnered with Zydus Cadila to address the need for accelerated development of an indigenous vaccine for COVID-19. The partnership exemplifies that such research endeavors demonstrate the government's focus on creating an ecosystem that nurtures and encourages new product innovation with societal relevance. The company said it plans to manufacture 100 million to 120 million doses of Zycobid annually and has started to stockpile the vaccine. Zycobid will be administered in children above 12 years and adults. The establishment of the country's first DNA vaccine platform is an important milestone for an Atmanirbhar Bharat and a big leap forward for scientific research. And let's move on to story number 2. And scientists have discovered that human babies are not the only babblers. Some bats are also very talkative in their infancy and even make sounds that recall the goo-goo gagas of human babies. Babbling in human children is key to developing the careful control over the vocal apparatus necessary for speech. The study published in the journal Science indicates the same is true for the greater sack-winged bat native to Central America. According to Miriam Conschild, a behavioral ecologist at the Museum of Natural History in Berlin and one of the researchers associated with the study, human infants seem to babble on the one hand to interact with their caregivers, but they also do that when they're completely alone, seemingly happily, just exploring their voice, and that's the same what our bats are doing. So bats communicate by ultrasound sound waves at frequencies above human hearing, but they can also make sounds audible to people. The mammals like us have a larynx and start babbling about 3 weeks after birth for about 7 to 10 weeks until they are weaned. During this period, the bats spend around 30% of their days babbling, with sessions lasting on average about 7 minutes, the researchers calculated. The greater sack-winged bat don't hide away in gloomy caves but prefer to live in trees, making them easier to observe. The babbling of 20 baby bats was recorded in Costa Rica and Panama between 2015 and 2016 by researcher Ahana Fernandez, also affiliated with the Museum of Natural History in Berlin, who spent hours with the bats in the forest. The vocalizations were converted into images called spectrograms. The researchers analyzed more than 55,000 produced syllables, finding universal characteristics of babbling in human infants in the bats, such as repetition, lack of meaning, but also that the sounds followed a certain rhythm. Even though there are millions of years different evolutionary pathways between bats and humans, it's astonishing to see such similar vocal practice behavior leading to the same result, acquiring a large vocal repertoire. The team converted these audio snippets into images called spectrograms that show the pitch and intensity of the sound over time. This enabled them to search for 8 key features that characterize babbling in human babies, including repetition of syllables and rhythm in their sounds. Their analysis found that the bats' babble had all 8 of these features. And surprisingly, both male and female bats learnt and produced that the syllables that make up the adult male territorial song, the females might use their experience in producing these sounds to help make mating decisions later in life, the authors suggest. And the researcher hopes that their findings would lead to more investigation into speech development in the human and animal kingdom, and ultimately the evolutionary origin of human language. And now let's move on to story number 3. And a brain without a corresponding body? No, we're not kidding. In a groundbreaking paper, scientists have revealed that they were able to grow mini brains in a lab setting. In a recent study, researchers led by J. Gopalakrishnan and University Hospital, Dusseldorf, grew miniature brains with a set of eye-like formations called optic cups. The optic cups are precursors to the retina, and its development within the mini organoids resembled the emergence of eye structures in human embryos. The research could help scientists understand eye diseases, eye development, and differentiation processes. Organoids are small, 3-dimensional tissue cultures that can replicate organs. Researchers grow tiny organoids from stem cells or cells that have the potential to mature into any cell in the body. Growing organoids allows researchers to peer into how organs develop and provide valuable insights into how organs could react to specific drugs or treatments. There are 2 types of stem cells, adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells. Human-induced pluripotent stem cells are a type of adult stem cell which are derived from human embryos. Instead, iPSCs are taken from adult human cells, usually from a skin or blood sample, and converted into an embryonic-like state. Instead of remaining a skin or blood cell, these iPSC cells can now develop into any cell in the body. In previous studies, only pure retinal cells or optic cups were grown in the lab. Individually, J. Gopalakrishnan, an organoid expert at University Hospital Dusseldorf, and his colleagues used iPSC-grown mini brains to see if eye structures could develop as an integrated part of the organoid, instead of growing the 2 parts separately. Scientists are now looking into how to keep the optic cups functioning longer to use for studying retinal disorders. The study was published in the recent issue of the journal Cell Stem Cell. And with this, we come to an end of this edition of Science Time. We'll be back with more interesting stories from the world of science next week. Stay tuned to India Science. Keep watching India Science every Friday for Science Time stories at 9 p.m. Namaskar.